Dean Martin's hand trembled as he held the phone receiver. It was 11:47 p.m. on March 15th, 1972, and he had been staring at Elvis's private number for 2 hours, a bourbon glass resting in his other hand. He wrestled with the decision before him. Would this call save his friend or destroy him? After 3 rings, Elvis answered, his voice thin and distant, as though he hadn't slept in days. "Dean? You okay, man?" Dean took a long drink and steadied himself. This conversation would hurt both of them. "I need to tell you something. Something I should have told you months ago." Elvis sat up in bed. Downstairs, Priscilla watched television. Their daughter, Lisa Marie, slept upstairs. The mansion felt cavernous despite being full of people. "What is it?" "Not over the phone. Can you meet me tonight?" "Dean, it's almost midnight. What's going on?" "Please, Elvis. This can't wait. I'm at the Sahara, room 2847. Come alone." The line went dead. Elvis stared at the phone for a long moment. Dean Martin was not a dramatic man. He didn't call in the middle of the night unless something was seriously wrong. Elvis dressed quickly without telling Priscilla where he was going, grabbed his keys, and drove to the Sahara Hotel in silence, his mind spiraling through possibilities. He arrived at 12:33 a.m. and knocked on the door. Dean answered immediately, as if he'd been waiting right there. His eyes were bloodshot, not from alcohol, but from something worse, something that looked like guilt. "Come in." Elvis entered the suite. The air was thick with cigarette smoke and regret. Dean poured 2 drinks. Elvis left his untouched. "Talk to me, Dean. What's this about?" Dean sat heavily, ran his hand through his hair, and avoided Elvis's gaze. "I saw something 6 months ago. Something I convinced myself wasn't my business. I told myself to stay out of it, but it's been eating at me every single day." Elvis felt his stomach drop. He already knew where this was heading. "Just say it, Dean." "I was at the Beverly Hilton in September, had a meeting with my manager. I was leaving, heading to the elevator, and I saw Priscilla." Elvis's hands gripped the armrest until his knuckles turned white. She was with someone, a man. They were coming out of a room together. "So?" "She meets with people all the time. Designers, decorators." "Elvis, stop. You know that's not what I'm talking about." The room fell silent except for the hum of the air conditioner. Elvis couldn't breathe, couldn't think. "Who was he?" "I don't know his name. Young guy, maybe 25. Dark hair. Looked like an instructor or something. But the way they were together, the way he touched her arm, the way she looked at him." "You're lying." "I wish I was." Elvis stood up so fast the chair fell backward. His face flushed crimson. Veins bulged in his neck. "You're telling me my wife is cheating on me and you waited 6 months to say something?" "I wasn't sure what I saw at first. I convinced myself I was wrong, that I was seeing things that weren't there. But then I saw them again." "When?" "Last week at a restaurant in Beverly Hills. They were holding hands under the table. I was with Jean at the bar. Priscilla didn't see me, but I saw everything." Elvis grabbed his drink and hurled it against the wall. Glass shattered. Bourbon streaked down the wallpaper. "Why are you telling me this now? Why tonight?" "Because I saw her with him again this afternoon at the same hotel. And I can't carry this anymore. Elvis, I can't look you in the eye, knowing what I know and pretending everything's fine. You're my friend. You deserve the truth." Elvis paced like a caged animal, his mind racing through 6 months of memories. Every time Priscilla said she had plans, every late arrival home, every moment she seemed distant and distracted, even when standing right beside him. "What's his name?" "I told you, I don't know." "Find out. I want to know who he is, where he lives, everything." Dean stood and placed his hand on Elvis's shoulder. "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to talk to my wife." Elvis left without another word and drove back to Graceland at 90 miles per hour, his hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly his fingers went numb. He pulled into the driveway at 1:52 a.m. The lights were still on downstairs. Priscilla was awake. Elvis walked to the front door and found her in the living room, curled on the couch with a magazine. She looked up and smiled, that same smile that had made him fall in love with her when she was 14. Now it felt like a knife in his chest. "Hey, baby, where'd you go so late?" Elvis stood in the doorway, studying her face for signs of guilt, lies, betrayal. "I need to ask you something, and I need you to tell me the truth." Priscilla's smile faded. She set down the magazine. "Okay, what is it? Are you seeing someone else?" The question hung in the air like smoke. Priscilla's face went pale. Her eyes widened, her mouth opened, but no words came. "Elvis, don't lie to me. Don't you dare lie to me right now." Tears filled her eyes. She stood and stepped toward him. Elvis stepped back. "Answer the question. It's not what you think." "So you're seeing someone." Priscilla wrapped her arms around herself and began to cry, not gently, but with hard, gasping sobs as her secret exploded into the open. "Who is he?" "His name is Mike Stone. He's a karate instructor. I met him at—" "How long?" "Elvis, please let me explain. How long have you been sleeping with him?" Priscilla flinched as though struck. "A few months." Elvis laughed. It was the worst sound Priscilla had ever heard. Empty, broken, hollow. "I gave you everything. Everything. I made you a queen. Gave you this house, this life. Everything you ever wanted. And you're sleeping with some karate instructor. You're never here, Elvis. You're always on tour, always in Vegas, always surrounded by those men and those women. Don't you dare turn this around on me. Don't you dare make this my fault. I'm not trying to. Did you love him?" The question stopped Priscilla cold. She looked at Elvis through her tears, saw the devastation breaking him apart. "I don't know." Elvis felt something inside him shatter, something fundamental that would never mend. "Get out." "What?" "Pack your things and get out of my house tonight." "Elvis, please. We need to talk about this." "There's nothing to talk about. You cheated. You lied. You betrayed everything we had. I want you gone." "What about Lisa Marie?" "She stays here with me. You can see her when I say you can see her. You can't do that. I'm her mother. And you should have thought about that before you decided to destroy this family." Elvis walked upstairs to their bedroom and began pulling Priscilla's clothes from the closet, throwing them onto the bed. Priscilla followed, trying to stop him. "Elvis, stop. Please stop. Let's just talk about this." "I'm done talking. I'm done listening to your lies." "I never lied to you." Elvis spun around, getting close to her face. "You didn't lie? Every time you said you were going shopping, every time you said you had appointments, every time you kissed me goodbye and went to see him. That wasn't lying?" Priscilla couldn't answer because he was right. Every moment with Mike had been constructed on deception. Secret phone calls, hidden meetings, lies told so smoothly, she'd almost believed them herself. "I'm sorry." The words came as a whisper. Elvis stopped throwing clothes and stood with his back to her. "Sorry doesn't fix this. Sorry doesn't erase what you did. Sorry doesn't make me forget that the woman I loved, the woman I trusted more than anyone in the world, chose someone else. I didn't choose him over you. Then what do you call it?" Priscilla sat on the edge of the bed, searching for words that might explain how lonely she'd been, how invisible, how his love had transformed into possession. She wanted to feel seen again, wanted to feel like Priscilla instead of Elvis Presley's wife. But there were no words that could make this right. "I felt lost," she finally said. "I felt like I was disappearing, like I didn't exist outside of being your wife. And Mike made me feel like me again, like Priscilla, not Elvis's wife, not Lisa Marie's mother, just me." Elvis turned around. His eyes were red, but he wasn't crying. "So this is my fault. I made you cheat." "No, that's not what I'm saying." "Then what are you saying?" "I'm saying I made a terrible mistake. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But I can't keep pretending that everything was perfect before this happened. We've been falling apart for years. Elvis, you know we have." Elvis sat on the opposite side of the bed. The space between them felt infinite. "When did you stop loving me?" "I never stopped loving you. Don't lie to me anymore. Please. I can't take any more lies." Priscilla turned to face him and reached for his hand, but he pulled away. "I love you, Elvis. I always will. but I'm not in love with you anymore. Not the way I used to be. And I don't think you're in love with me either. Not really. You love the idea of me, the perfect wife, the perfect family. But you don't love who I actually am. Elvis stood and walked a window, gazing out at Graceland's grounds, the place he'd built to prove he'd made it, to prove he was somebody. Now it felt like a prison. I want you out by morning. Can we at least tell Lisa Marie together? Explain it to her? You can tell her whatever you want, but you do it before you leave. Priscilla nodded and began gathering her belongings with trembling hands. Neither of them slept that night. Elvis sat in his office in the dark, staring at nothing. Priscilla packed in silence, tears streaming down her face. At 6:47 a.m., they sat Lisa Marie down and told her that Mommy would be living somewhere else for a while. Lisa Marie was 4 years old. She didn't understand. She cried and asked why. Asked if it was her fault. Elvis held her and promised it wasn't, promised she was loved, promised everything would be okay, even though he knew it wouldn't be. At 8:15 a.m., Priscilla walked out of Graceland for the last time as Elvis's wife. She got in her car, looked back at the mansion, and saw Elvis standing in the window, watching her leave. She wanted to go back, wanted to undo everything. But it was too late. Some things, once broken, can't be fixed. Elvis remained at that window for an hour, feeling everything he built crumble around him. Dean Martin called that afternoon. Did you talk to her? Yeah, I talked to her, and she's gone. Dean was quiet for a long moment. I'm sorry, Elvis. I'm so sorry. Don't be. You did the right thing. Better know the truth than live in a lie. But knowing the truth didn't ease the pain. It didn't fill the emptiness that consumed Elvis in the days and weeks that followed. He threw himself into work, did more shows, took more pills, surrounded himself with people who wouldn't ask questions, who wouldn't look at him with pity, who wouldn't remind him that his marriage was over. The divorce was finalized on October 9th, 1973. Elvis didn't contest anything. He gave Priscilla everything she asked for. He just wanted it over. Wanted to stop seeing her face in court, stop hearing lawyers discuss dividing their life like property to be split down the middle. Years later, when people asked Elvis about the divorce, about what happened, he'd always say the same thing. We grew apart. It happens. But that wasn't the truth. The truth was that Dean Martin's phone call at 11:47 p.m. on March 15th, 1972, changed everything. It set in motion a confrontation that ended a marriage and broke something in Elvis that never fully healed. The truth was that sometimes love is enough. Sometimes people change. Sometimes a person you thought you'd spend forever with becomes a stranger. And sometimes the only thing worse than not knowing is finding out. Elvis never blamed Dean for telling him. In fact, he thanked him. He told him he was a real friend for having the courage to speak up when it would have been easier to stay silent. But their friendship was never quite the same after that night. Too much pain was attached to it. Too many memories of the worst moment of Elvis's life. Dean carried his own guilt. He wondered if he should have kept his mouth shut, if ignorance might have been kinder than truth. But he'd seen his friend being made a fool of and couldn't stand by and watch it happen. As for Priscilla and Mike Stone, they stayed together for a few years, but relationships built on secrets rarely last. They eventually broke up. Priscilla would later say that leaving Elvis was necessary but painful, that she'd always love him but couldn't be who he needed her to be. Elvis dated other women, and even got engaged once, but he never remarried. He never let anyone get that close again. Some wounds cut too deep. Some betrayals leave scars that never fade. And sometimes the worst part isn't the cheating. It's the moment you realize the person you thought you knew better than anyone was a stranger all along.